Laura, how did this picture come to you?
I got a call. I remember late at night, it was about 7 or so, from my agent saying, look, there's a film called The Truman Show that Peter Weir is directing, and they're having trouble with the actresses that they want. It's not working out. Can you go in tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock and meet Peter Weir? He was like, read the script. He said, you don't have to read right away, but just read it so that you can, so A, if it's something, if you're interested in, and B, so that you can talk to him about it. I said, absolutely. So I read the script, was sort of bowled over by it because it's so original and so challenging. And I knew that the combination of that script and this director would be really interesting. And I went in and met with him and, you know, said hello and how are you? And I loved the script. And he said, thank you so much for coming in. I said, my pleasure. And then a few days later, I got a phone call saying that he requested that we could get together so I could read for him. I said, fine, of course, anything. And I flew, he was in Florida and I was in New York. He flew to Atlanta. No, he flew to Atlanta, I flew to Atlanta. And we met at one of those hotels, you know, an airport hotel. It felt like a secret spy mission. And I read for him there in a hotel room. You know, hi, nice to see you again. Thanks so much for flying to meet me. Thanks so much for flying to meet me. And then we both went to the airport, said goodbye at an air terminal. And a few days later, they called and offered me the role. So I was thrilled. I was thrilled. Because you fall in love with Peter Weir the minute you meet him. I mean, you just do. He is so the real thing. Well, you get a sense. There is really no word about him, which is wonderful. Hard to do. There is no word other than good, sort of good things. But you get the sense from, you know, watching his films that he's so good at what he does, really good at what he does. And he has an understanding and a joy about human beings and how they interact and the joy and the fun of all of that, that I knew that the combination of this script with this director and Jim Carrey was going to be really, really interesting. So I was thrilled out of my mind when they asked me to come on board. There are many of us in the cast who have that challenge. And it's great fun to figure that all out, because what you first have to do, or what we all chose to do, was to figure out the actress first. It's Hannah Gill who portrays Meryl Burbank on The Truman Show. So to figure out Hannah Gill, and who is Hannah Gill, and where did she come from, and what does she want, and how does she work on a daily basis, and what does this all mean to her, and it's so much fun to do all that type of work. And then how does it influence her portrayal of Meryl Burbank? And we were constantly coming up with new ideas and weird details about everyone else's life, and we just had a great time. When she lives on the set, she is Meryl Burbank, the glorious, perfect wife to Truman Burbank, who is responsible for his home life and keeping him happy and safe and healthy and cared for and loved, and has the really fun task, which was one of my favorite things to do, was the product placement, the pitching of the products, sort of fitting them into life as if that's a natural occurrence. So dealing with all the commercial aspects of it was just a hoot. She's trying, she's going for that. I think underneath it all is like extreme desperation and anger, actually, you know, because she doesn't really like Truman all that much. She knows, but she's very powerful and very famous because of this show, because of this job. So, and she does not want to lose that. So, but she's sensing that it's going away from her. She can tell he's not interested. They're having trouble conceiving a child. There's not the connection there. The initial impact she had on him is sort of dwindling. So I think there's this feeling that it's falling apart. So her smile gets a little bigger, and she sort of loses it at one point. You see those people who just can't stop smiling, and you don't really know what it's about, but you know it's about something that's just you just go, oh, poor thing. You know, sure, they're trying so hard. They're just trying so hard.
Sure.
Well, I loved it. I mean, everyone had a different response to it. It made some people very uncomfortable. I loved it. I was in a house. I had a white picket fence. You know, I got to live out all those fantasies of living in something like that stereotypical, archetypal, pristine environment, and it was actually there, and I was actually in it, and I knew I was there for a short period of time, so I just thought, oh God, I'm just going to enjoy this. I loved it, and that beach, that exquisite, beautiful beach, it was heaven. So I let the sort of unnatural quality of it, or this startlingly, some sort of unnatural sweetness of the place, not bother me. I wasn't offended by it. I took advantage of it while I was there. Tried to soothe my soul. I think she just doesn't like him. I think, you know, certain people just don't like each other, and I think she's also very jealous of him. I think she's, you know, she wants to be famous. She wants her own spin-off series, you know, so I think she just doesn't like him. It was wonderful working with Jim for a variety of reasons, but it's always exciting to work with someone who's sort of branching out or going into new territory or trying something that they're maybe not known for. That's always exciting to watch because you know they can do it, and it's a matter of them feeling comfortable and learning about doing something differently. So that was very exciting to watch and interesting, and he's a sweet guy. Jim's got a big heart. He's a sweet, sweet man, and it's always, you know, interesting to be with those celebrities people who become celebrities because they've made such an impact in one form or another. And Jim is a phenomenon. I mean, Jim is in a tornado of fame that no one can understand what it would be like to be in there. I understand why it's there, and I think it's absolutely deserved, but it's, I can't imagine being in the middle of that and the challenges that creates and how it affects your life and how you have to keep sane within it. You know, it's so interesting to see these people, and really how they're able to do it is amazing. My hat's off to them. Oh, there's so much running through this film. I think the thing that comes immediately to mind, because it's so much, I think it's a topic that everyone's been discussing on and off for years, and it's becoming more and more apparent that we need to sort of think through this, is the use of cameras in you know, the public life versus private life issue, and the use of video and taping and all of that stuff. So I think that's the sort of, you know, one of the more intellectual, serious, social commentary elements of the film. And then I think there's a wonderful story about the human spirit, dealing with what the human spirit calls for or needs or wants, and the ability to step outside of yourself, the ability to change, the ability to break through, all of that. And then commercialism. Good old making a buck. You know, there's that as well. So there's a lot that runs through this film. And there are things that I'm sure if I see it again that I haven't even thought of yet. Peter Weir's, I knew the whole time we were making this film that he was so far ahead of us on so many different levels that I think I could probably watch this movie 20 times and find different things in it every time I see it. So it's just sort of thrilling to be a part of it. Well, I wouldn't say they're lying. They're not lying. They're acting. You know, and there is I mean, but yes, it's all based on dishonesty. I mean, absolutely, yes. Well, it's all based on making a buck, and it's amazing to see how, and everybody sees this every day, how people can justify anything, bad taste, you know, social harm, to make a buck. It all goes down to that. It all trickles down to that, basically. Of the women in the movie? Well, there's my character. You have the rabidly ambitious actress who's all caught up in the craziness of that, and then you have Sylvia, who is, you see the potential for Truman's life outside of the show. And Sylvia is another view of that, and her sense of wanting to help him. But I don't think there's a whole lot of feminist issue in this in this movie. I think that's one thing. It's not quite dealing with that. It deals with a lot of things, but I haven't really thought about that one. But maybe there's more there than I know. But I don't think that's one of the overriding themes. I think we would just sort of play and have fun and talk about. He'd be like, "Oh, Miss Gill, how was your day?" And I'd sort of rattle on and on about what I'd been doing during the day, and how I wanted to talk about all of my business investments in other companies. I decided that Hannah was extremely shrewd business-wise and was making a gazillion dollars a day with endorsements, and that she was a real, had this huge office somewhere and a staff load of people, and was constantly on the phone when she wasn't working and doing deals and contracts and endorsements and makeup lines and fashion, lines of clothing and all that type of stuff. So we would sort of go through that and banter back and forth.